Foreign Affairs Minister Gideon Timotheus briefs the diplomatic community violations of the Pretoria Agreement by a faction of TPLF. He called on the international community to discern and distinguish between the spoilers of the Pretoria Peace Agreement or COHA and those who are trying to faithfully implement the agreement, and support the process to go forward. Foreign Affairs Minister Gideon Timotheus and Tigray State Interim Chief Administrator Getachew Reda jointly gave briefing to international community. Briefing the diplomatic community in Addis Ababa today, the minister detailed multiple violations.
We often see statements blaming both sides, calling upon both sides. I believe that this is tantamount to coddling the spoilers. When these kind of statements are issued, it enables the agents of chaos. These serial troublemakers and agents of chaos will be put on the same footing with the party that has faithfully tried to implement the Pretoria Agreement, with all our limitations. I hope that going forward, as President Getachew has said, at times, even when we're diplomats, we need to call
of the Pretoria Agreement by a faction of TPLF and called for urgent international support to prevent a return to conflict. The foreign minister criticized statements that blame both sides, arguing that such rhetoric emboldens agents of chaos and undermines efforts to implement the agreement. Thus, he urged the diplomatic community
attempting to dismantle the interim administration using violence. They are making contact and collaborating with external forces that are hostile to Ethiopia. They have derailed for months the return of IDPs. 4, they are engaging openly in hostile propaganda and rhetoric. They are inciting violence and a return to conflict. The federal government is carefully monitoring the situation. We will do everything in our power to ensure that the Pretoria Agreement holds, the ceasefire holds, and that peace will prevail in northern Ethiopia. We will rely upon all of you for your continued support in this regard, and I hope that your support going forward would discern and distinguish between the troublemakers and those who are trying to faithfully implement the agreement.
Distinguish between troublemakers and those faithfully working to implement the agreement, emphasizing that equating both sides emboldens spoilers of peace. On his part, Tigray State Interim Chief Administrator Getachew Reda provided a detailed account of the worsening security situation in Tigray region. He revealed that a faction of TPLF has forcibly...
The faction that obviously decided to conduct its own Congress despite opposition from the Federal Electoral Board decided that it was the only entity entitled to determine the nature and the composition of the interim administration, without, of course, the consultation with the federal government. This led to the takeover of various zones and various localities in Tigray by this group, denying the interim administration access to significant parts of Tigray. I would call on the international community and the federal government to do whatever in their power to help us avoid miscalculations, whichever direction they might come from. So it's often those miscalculations which have resulted in devastating wars, and the last thing Tigray is ready to entertain is yet another round of devastating war. And of course, any instability in Tigray is going to destabilize Ethiopia.
Administrative structures, rounded up interim administration appointees, and used violence against protesters. Getachew warned that the situation could lead to a complete breakdown of law and order and potentially reignite conflict. He also expressed concern over the